In this video, you will learn how to make use of the React useContext. The useContext hook in React allows a component to access and use values from a context, which is shared across the component tree without passing props manually at each level. For example, if you have a universal value that you want to be able to access anywhere within your component, instead of using the React prop to pass the value from one component to another, the React useContext enable you to be able to create the value once and you'll be able to access that variable anywhere within your component. So you can imagine the React useContext as a source with multiple outputs going into different inputs. So let's check this in practical. Now I'm going to set up my React app. I'm going to create a folder called component, and in this component I'm going to create a file called component a.jsx. All right, so let me quickly set it up. RAFCE. All right, so I'm going to give this a class name of com. All right, so I'm just going to duplicate this 2 more times and I'm going to rename this to be component b. So we're going to call this component b.jsx, and also this is going to change to b and this is going to change to b. All right, we're also going to rename this to component c.jsx, and this will change to c, and also this will change to c. So now, before you can make use of the React useContext, you have to create context. So we are going to create a component where every universal variable we need to access anywhere within our component, we are going to be storing the universal variable there. So let me create a component called uni.jsx, meaning universal, uni.jsx. So in this uni, let me have my RAFCE. Now, I told you before you can use context, you have to create context. So we are going to import the create context from here. Now, after importing the create context, we're now going to create a variable outside this our function uni. You can call it any variable you wish, but me, I'm going to call mine my context. So this context will hold the create context we imported. Now, the next thing for you to do is to export. You are going to export my context, that is the variable you created. Now, instead of having this div here, we are going to clean all this up and we are going to have my context, that is the variable we are exporting, dot provider. Now, my context dot provider, that is this variable we created, dot provider, allows us to be able to pass in the variable or value we want to be able to access anywhere within our component. So now, this is just like an HTML tag. It has an opening tag and a closing tag. So we're going to pass in the value we want to be able to access. Now, what is the value? So now we're going to be creating the values we want to be able to access. So I'm going to create it using the React useState. You can check out my previous video on React useState. I explained it in detail there. So we're going to import the useState. I'm going to import the useState and I'm going to create a variable using it. So I'm going to say info, and what we're going to use to update it, set info should be equal. So now what is the info all about? We're going to be using React useState. So the info is please subscribe. All right, so this is the info we are creating. Now I want to be able to access this information anywhere within our component. We are going to pass in the value here and we're going to say info. So before we leave here, we're also going to pass in a parameter here that is in this function that we are creating. We're going to pass in a parameter called children. So this children allows React to know that anywhere we are wrapping this component in, every component we are wrapping in it will be taken as a child if it is one, and if there are many, it will be taken as its children. So now, after doing this, we are going to add on to our main.js. We should understand that in our main.js, it contains our main app. That means the main app we are rendering will be in our main.js, and in that app, all other components are embedded in it. For some of you, it might be different. It might be your router or whatsoever you wish. So we're going to cut it and we're going to import the uni. We're going to import uni that's completed it from the file path. So we're going to write uni here like an HTML tag. It will have an opening tag and it also have a closing tag, and we're going to paste our app there. So we are wrapping it. So this is the child, that is the children. Now in our app.jsx, let us import component A. I'm going to import component A, so it's auto completed. Now we're going to copy this because we're going to be importing component B and C also. So this will be B and this is going to be C. All right, so let's register a component here. We're going to say component A. So now, how do we access this value within component A? So let's go to component A. This is where we're now going to make use of the React use context. Now we're going to import the use context from here. So we're going to import use context. Now, which value do we want to access from this unit.jsx? We want to access info. So in our component A, we are going to create a variable called info also. So this info will equal to use context. Now, I know you'll be asking, why are we exporting this my context? This is where we're going to use it. Now we're going to import my context. Now this use context, we are going to have our bracket and it will be using my context. So now within this, we can easily access the value of info. So let me have a break here and call my info value and see if it's going to bring out that info. Please subscribe. So quickly before then, let me have a quick styling here. That's why I gave it a class of .com. So we're going to say border 3 pixel solid black. Then we are going to have padding of 20 pixel and width of 200 pixel. So let's run our server npm run dev and check it out. So let's check this. So let's refresh our localhost. There's a problem. So in our app.jsx, we already import component A. So we're going to change this to component B and we're also going to change this to component C. So let's check it out. Let's refresh. Okay, so we have component A, we have component B. It's all right. So there's an error here. This should be components and not component. So we're going to have components. So let's check it out now. So we can see component A, please subscribe. So now we'll be able to display this info correctly here. And we can see it displaying here, please subscribe. Let's also call it in another component. So to do that, I'm just going to copy this cost info. Let's go to component B and paste it here. I'm also going to import, use context. So now after importing the use context, we're also going to import my context. That is what we exported. Then we're going to go to our app.jsx and we're also going to register component B. All right, now so let's check it out in our browser. You can see component A, please subscribe. So let's check component B. Component B, we need to display the info we are displaying. So this should be component B. Then we're going to display the info. Now let's check it out. We can see component B, please subscribe. Now, what if you are having multiple values that you need to display or that you need to pass through the use context? So what we are going to do, we are going to come to our unit.jsx. Let me create another variable and I'm going to call this user. I'm going to call this username, and we're going to say we're going to call this set name. So what should be the username? Crown developer. Now the values I will be passing, I'm going to pass in info and I'm going to pass in username. So in my component A where I need it, so instead of having only info, so I'm going to have info and I'm going to have username. All right, so I can just copy this. So each component that you want to use the use context, you must have audio values there also. So in component B, I'm going to have this to be username also. Then in component B, let's display the username alongside with the info. So username. Now let's go to our browser and check. So we can see component A, please subscribe, component B, please subscribe, and the username crown developer. So the use context allows you to be able to access a variable across multiple components without using the React prop. Please, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification bell. I'll be posting more engaging and coding tutorial. Thank you.